Go.
No, notice of this meeting was advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Ms. Trueblood? Present. Mr. Cordier?
Present.
Mr. Tompkins?
Here.
Ms. Jackson? Present. Mr. Allen?
Present. This meeting is now called to order. Closed session resolution number 69-2016 authorizes council to go into closed session. My understanding is that we have no closed session items this evening, so there is no necessary actions. Public comment? Ms. Waters?
I'm Norma Waters. I live in Pemberton Heights. At the last meeting, a council member expressed sadness that Mrs. Phillips and I are disappointed by our perceptions of the township. I have confidence that Mrs. Phillips will speak for herself. My belief is that the people are the township. Democracy is ruled by the people, and government's only legitimate purpose is to serve the people. My perception is that the people and democracy were again insulted at the last council meeting. The people and democracy were insulted when public comments remained restricted. The people and democracy were insulted when a certain council member once again expressed not wanting to hear citizens repeat anything that has already been advocated. The people and democracy were insulted when an important resolution about the police lawsuit was put on the consent agenda, where it could have slipped through without explanation had not a council member pulled it. The people and democracy were insulted when a council member took jabs at a fellow member for engaging with issues. The people and democracy were insulted when the township attorney jumped protocol and aimed derogatory retorts at a business person during public comments. These insults are symptoms of larger problems. Like multitudes throughout the nation, and as evidenced by shrinking attendance at council meetings, people here are fed up with arrogant establishment politics. This government has 2 lawyers resisting any effort in council to do more than rubber stamp the administration's will. For too long, our township has been largely run by lawyers and courts because there has been little or no recourse by appealing to council. At the last meeting, the attorney stated that council can hire its own attorney. That is an excellent idea. Let Mr. Bayer fight the administration's many court battles, and let another, hopefully local, attorney help maintain a healthy balance of authority by objectively advising and defending this council. If you disagree, please do so with substance, instead of expressing sadness or powerlessness. It appears to me that evil employs those who are conniving, blustering, naive, or passive. Conscience may use either a strong or gentle voice, but where there is wrong, conscience finds no virtue in silence or inactivity. Conscience calls one to accept truth and to do the right thing, even in the face of criticism or retaliation, and even if one must stand alone. Council was not put here to go along in order to get along. That is not positivity. Stop gullibly surrendering your authority under the guise of consistent paperwork. Council's role is to express our community's conscience through legislation, resolution, and oversight. Please boldly uphold conscience and defend the people and the employees of Pemberton Township, including our police. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tam?
The 3-minute rule, who came up with this? With the 3-minute limiting the public?
We were discussing our bylaws,
Who's we?
council,
All right?
and it was put in there for discussion many months ago, and a majority of the council members agreed on it.
Yes. You know what? I was sitting there in the back of the room. You all pledge allegiance to the flag. I'm puzzled. You know, you pledge allegiance to the flag, and then you sit down and you implement a 3-minute rule. You know, what is this? That's not democracy. It's people on it. You have to respect them. You have to give them time to present their views, their problems. And they could enlighten you in many areas by doing that. You don't limit them to 3 minutes. It's ludicrous. Democracy, and you pledge allegiance to the flag? No, that's not democracy. Do your history. Learn what democracy is. If it wasn't for town meetings, you wouldn't have democracy in this country. That's the whole basis of it. The people have a voice. What you're doing is you're cutting that voice off. That's what you call control. Do what the heck you want, and the heck with the people out there. They pay you. You're getting $300 a meeting approximately. I mean, do you have to cut it down to an hour and a half? When elected officials go elected, nobody forces you to be an elected official. You ran for election, you wanted it, you got it. You take the responsibilities, you took an oath of office and everything else on it. Live up to it. If the oath of office, when you sit up there, the meeting may be 30 minutes or it might be 5 hours. But that's the way it goes in public office. And if you can't accept it, then I say, get out. You don't belong up there. The people, you want to represent these people, start doing it. On this thing here tonight, you have 77-2016. Is there a listing of the scrap that's being sold? There should be a listing of it. You're going to approve scrap being sold? It's just like a purchase order. Only thing you're selling it. It should be listed. 2017 everything should be listed on that. Now I have something else. Last year, I questioned about the water department, report that came out for 2014. Then I noticed that radium was not tested for 3 years. But you gave out a contract that's probably going to cost the township over $1 million, and you haven't tested radium for 3 years, but still you're building a plant to process to get the radium out of it. You got discrepancies. Not only that, but some of the things were at the top of the limit exceedance on that report.
Mr. Tam, can you repeat that again for a second, please? It's
Pardon?
Jack over here. Can you repeat that about the radium, the not testing? Is that what you said?
According to what the report that was given out last year for 2014 from 2011 for 3 years, there was no radium testing.
Okay, I could be wrong, Sometimes I am, believe it or not. But if I remember reviewing the bill list that was presented to us tonight, there are light items in there for well 11 testing for iridium. So that is
Maybe
currently
now,
being
maybe
done.
now, but all doing from 2011 to 14 for 3 years, it wasn't tested. Last year, they gave out a report, a contract to build a plant to process the radium out. There was no report of radium being tested before they gave out that final contract at all on it. The other thing with your water, you better start checking into it, otherwise you may have something similar to Flint. I'll pass this out. Cement asbestos pipes, transite pipes, water pipes, you have them in the township. They're getting to be 60, 70 years old. 70 years is the longest longevity of a cement asbestos pipe. It deteriorates. At that point, your fibers are coming off from the interior of the pipe. You're ingesting them. If water goes on the ground, the water dries up, the fibers are there to inhale on it. I have a few papers to hand out. You should be doing routine in the township, cement asbestos on water pipes in the township to find out if there's any problems before they occur. And this has never been done as far as I know. All I know, in the 80s, we start removing cement asbestos pipes with PVC and cast iron, spun cast iron pipe. But that program died, and it's died years. Everybody's forgotten about that problem on it. But it exists today, and I have some few papers. You can read about it if you want. Here, you should know about this, Jason. You're with DEP.
DEP is a very large department, Mr. Tam.
I know.
So you should know that I don't know everything.
Thank you, sir.
Water is very important. Water is very important. A little prevention could save a lot of money, and not only that, a lot of health problems and a lot of lives in the long run. And this township, as far as I'm concerned, has not been up on it when it comes to testing water. When I questioned it last year, the report that was handed out was something that was compiled by one individual of various reports. It was not the reports itself. The council should take a look at it, because all 5 of you are responsible, and just to sit there and implement 3-minute rules is not the way to treat the township. The way to treat it is start doing your work and forget about 3 minutes. If it takes 20 minutes for somebody...
You've spoken for longer than 3 minutes and nobody's cut you off. So we forgot about 3 minutes.
I know, but the point is you shouldn't hold that over their head, because it makes people nervous when they get up here that they go fast, they forget what the heck they're saying.
Right.
Not everybody's a public speaker. I'm not a public speaker.
You do
To
pretty
force
good
it
at it,
into
Mike.
3 minutes is wrong. It's absolutely wrong to do it. It implies that you're going to cut them off, you're stifling the public, and that is wrong, Anna.
Thank you for your opinion,
Sir,
Mr. Tam.
hang on just a second. Mr. Tam,
What?
hang on just a second. Mr. Mayor? Yes. Since you're involved, I'm assuming, with the water department often, are you aware of any of these concrete pipe systems that might have asbestos in it from the 50s or 60s?
Our water division, we don't have a department of water, we have a water division, does change our pipes daily. We're installing new pipes daily, so it hasn't been since the 80s and forgotten. Matter of fact, I'm drinking tap water right out of the township here now. Very confident that our water gets tested regularly and is very safe for the residents. And I don't know if we're using that type of pipe now and what type of hazards that pipe may or may not pose to the public. But I will, I've taken a note, inquire about it now, but I don't know that we have that type of piping in the township here.
And if you're doing that, can I ask, I know we do regular testing on the water. Do you see if we test for this as well as some of the other things that we test for?
I'll get a full report from the division head, and we'll get it to council.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
They stopped using in the township cement asbestos pipe, I think it was 1984. When I was on the committee, we stopped using it. We went to PVC, and we went to cast iron instead. But there is developments Johnson Courts over in Pemberton is cement asbestos pipe. If I'm not mistaken, Sunbury Village is. The water department should be able to tell you. When they make taps, when they dig it up, they could see it. And I think Blueberry Manor, and I think maybe Rateau Village was great. It was cheap, and it held up. The only thing is the lifespan is about 60 to 70 years. At that point, the deterioration is really great in it, and the fibers start coming out. And it goes by like it does in a lot of communities, goes right over everybody's head, and then it hits home one of these days, and somebody has a problem with a child or something.
Unfortunately, I think we're going to be living with that for a long, long time in this country.
Mr. Morrell and then Ms. Maldonado.
How you doing? I'm Andrew Mull. Couple things. One is I agree with everything she says. I guess it was me that they were picking on last week. Sorry for turning around. But the council president told me that probably not going to have a meeting here tonight or discussion on the towing ordinance. So, but he did say that any changes to the ordinance would be
Reflective in the contract?
reflective in the new contract, so that any changes that would be made will be good, right?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, that's it. I don't mind the wait. But hope you all, read the ordinance and the changes that I recommend real good, and hope you understand why I need to have them done. And really appreciate it.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Ms. Maldonado.
Terry Maldonado, Browns Mills. I have a question for council. The tax surveyors that are coming out, do we as taxpayers have to allow these people in our home? Is there a law stating that we have to allow them in our home?
I believe.
My understanding is no,
Not in the house.
not even on the property.
Correct.
I
Unless I'm wrong.
thought they had to come into the house.
In the house. So my question to you is, what happens is we, the taxpayers, tell these people they are not permitted in our premises. What happens to us? How do we get taxed on the tax?
They do an
Assessment.
estimate of the surrounding properties.
Yep.
And I believe they also estimate that you have every possible improvement inside your house that's possible, and you will be taxed at the highest assessed possible rate.
Okay, so now with me, I have 5 sheriff houses around me. So that means my property's down low. Why do we have 5 empty houses on one block? I don't know. Just to show you that somebody's not doing something right here in this town.
But one thing you might want to think about, Terry, sorry, we're friends, so
Go ahead.
one thing you might want to think about, and I kind of fall into this category too. My house has been out there since the 60s when it got built. I don't know what the tax assessor has on my property, and I just bought it 20 years ago, so it's been out there longer than I've owned it. If you have a basement in your property and it's not finished, as a lot of basements aren't, and you don't allow them to come into your property, they could assume that you do have a fully finished basement with an extra bathroom down there and a couple other things, and assess your property for that improvement, and that will raise the value of your home.
Okay, but my point of this whole thing being is I'm a single female. I'm not letting nobody in my house unless they were a friend or family. Because I'm not going to jeopardize me because you could hire some crazy from Delran to come over and survey our properties. That's not going to happen.
My understanding, correct me, counsel, if I'm wrong, but I believe that this is an established, well-established corporation that does this within the state.
So you're telling me. But then again, how many times has the administration or anybody else been honest with the taxpayers in this town? I have to go there. I'm sorry, I have to go there. No disrespect to you guys, but
But
that's how it is.
it is an established corporation within the state that does this. They have been, I believe, investigated by the police department, and they've been issued appropriate IDs.
Okay, but now, is there any reprimand against the taxpayers if they do not allow these people on their premises?
Not to my
I'm not aware of that. I'm not sure. I do know that the letter that came in the mail, there's a telephone number on it.
Yeah, I received the letter myself, and then one thing that disturbed me about the letter, I'm going to paraphrase here, it says, if you're not, unable to be home, leave a postcard on your door with your name and phone number. Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. Again, there's a telephone number on the letter. If you have any questions or concerns, you could either call the letter or maybe shoot Amy an email with your question, and we can get those questions responded to.
Okay, but now can I get I want to get an answer from council. What happens if we, the taxpayers, turn these people away? Any kind of reprimand whatsoever to the taxpayers? My question.
I don't think there's a reprimand to the taxpayer. What it is that the appraisal company is trying to fully and fairly value each property, and part of that appraisal process or evaluation process is being able to inspect the interior and the exterior. As one of the council said, my understanding is when an appraiser can't get in, they're entitled to look at the township as a whole and what the properties are in the whole, and they're entitled to make assumptions about what's in the property based on what's in the township as a whole. So you may get an assessment that you don't agree with that's not entirely accurate because you did let someone in, where if you had let them in, they might have a more accurate assessment. But that's the issue, I think. You're not going to get punished any other way.
Well, because my question is, because I know I tried to refinance my home. I bought my house 20 years ago, and I'm locked into the 7.25% rate, which we all know it's lower, but I look at it this way. I owe pennies on my house now. So my question is, if I can't get approved for refinancing because all the foreclosed homes around me that are sheriff sales, I don't know how you guys can tax me at a fair market value. I mean, just a question. That's why I'm asking. But all right, so I just need to know. Thank you.
Mr. Pelletier?
Yes, good evening. Bob Pelletier. I was holding out there because I got here late. I was thought maybe some more people wanted to speak. So. Okay, Bob Pelletier, Pemberton. Mr. President, I'm here tonight with a few questions and to make a few comments. I want to first start with going back to December the 15th. I come down to the town office to pick up a copy of an ordinance that was for second reading and adoption, two of them actually. And I had been looking for them on the internet in the clerk's section of the township website, and I couldn't find them, so I come in 5 minutes to 4 on Tuesday before the meeting. And I had asked to speak to the clerk, but said she wasn't here. I said, well, I'll be at the meeting tonight, so I can probably bring it up there. Well, I got to the meeting, but I didn't get a chance to speak. I had to go home. And the clerk wasn't here anyway. But it concerns me a lot, though, is you have that website. It's a tremendous resource. It's a productivity saver. And I think it should be used to the maximum extent possible and also be kept up to date. So that's a comment I have, not necessarily for the council, but for the administration. And if anybody's got any questions regarding that, from council, I'll take them.
Can repeat that again? Repeat what you just said?
The website.
Okay, the website.
Yes, it should be utilized by the township to the maximum extent practical, because it's a resource saver, time saver. It's tremendous built-in efficiency. I know I've gone through it years ago, and it's a great thing. So utilize it, and maintain it, keep it up to date, because there are some people like me that like to go on there, and I like to be able to download something. I want to check and see, hey, is this a holiday that I'm going to have refuse picked up? You know, so it's a convenient resource, but it needs to be maintained and kept up to date.
I agree, and I ran into the similar situation you're talking about last night.
You did.
And I was going to bring it up today, and it's a nice segue into it.
No, don't use up my time, because what have I got, 4 minutes?
It's on a pause, trust me.
Okay.
I went on the site last night, and I was looking for Ordinance 5-2016, which is a salary ordinance. It's proposed and on tonight's agenda, but it wasn't listed on the website.
My apologies, I neglected to send it to the webmaster.
But I'm not trying to throw stones, Amy. Trust me, I know you're a busy person. It's very
Amy's
accomplished.
really thorough, so, I mean...
Mr. Pelletier, I apologize for not being here in December. I believe the week you're speaking of was the week my daughter came home from college and I was on vacation to spend time with her. And the deputy clerk should have been in the office, so if you had asked for her, she would have been able to assist you. The deputy clerk was here at the meeting then.
She was here. Okay, well, at least I got the copy of the ordinances I wanted. I mean, but that's just for, I want to make those comments. Also, wanted to make some comments about, I wanted to comment at the time when I was here on the 16th of December regarding the noise ordinance. I was up for a final reading. And due to circumstances beyond control, I couldn't get here on time, so I didn't have an opportunity to speak on it because I had some questions. But I also had some good comments, and I think that overall that the amendment provides a lot of clarity to that ordinance, and I was kind of surprised it took so long to get amended. And I would like to know, with all those rewrites in the amendments, has that been approved by the NDEP there for approval? There's a one-man office up there in New Jersey, Trenton there, that oversees noise. And everything has to go through him. Because I talked to him way back during the inception of this ordinance, and everything I asked, he said, he was very, very begrudging to me. So I was wondering, did the administration go through that process? Because according to him, there couldn't be any changes. That's the model ordinance, that's the way it stands.
Are we aware of any of that? And what department can you repeat the department?
It's NDEP.
What's NDEP?
New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection.
Oh, I work for the DEP, and that's the first time I've ever referred to it as NDEP.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Well, I like using acronyms. It's faster.
NDEP.
Yeah. And in fact, if I remember the gentleman's name is Dave Twiggs or Twig.
I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, he's a one-man show up there, and he said that to me. But just to move on, though, I wanted to say that, like I said, that's right. There's a lot of a lot of clarification here, some good points. But I wanted to bring up about noise control officers. Will only police officers be those particular noise control people?
They are, correct?
If I remember the ordinance right,
I remember the ordinance, yes.
Well, yes, but somebody has to be certified, not necessarily just has to be a policeman. And the reason I bring that up is because I've been in this township for a number of years, and back in the 90s, back when you had analog type scanners, police scanners, I listened to a lot of the traffic in there, and then it jumped to this digital, which I lost track of. And the police are very busy in this township, handling domestic complaints, traffic control, and to have them go out and do these this type of thing, noise control, I think it's a little bit of a stretch. Which have other people, and something that I'm a big proponent of is citizens' complaints. Now, if you have a noise, with this noise ordinance, I think it's impossible for a citizen to file a complaint. I mean, you could go through the motions, do a perfunctory one and get into court and they throw it out because, oh, where's your sound hearing device? Are you certified and stuff like that? I mean, it's not rocket science. I know a little bit about sound, and the ordinance is based on the A wave band, not the C. There's some charts in there. But that's something that I'd like to see. And that was something I tried to, tell Mr. Trigg or whatever his name was there, that make it easy for the citizen. So, and I think it's very cumbersome to follow this thing throughout. And I'd be interested to hear what the police have to say about the ordinance.
Didn't a majority of the changes come from, or suggestions come from the police department or Chief Jantis?
The chief addressed us.
Pelletier, do you have a copy of the ordinance now, the new ordinance?
I got the amended one here.
Did you read it?
Yes, I did.
And it states in there that you have to have devices to monitor the noise level, and you got to be certified?
Yes.
Because I thought we took that out of the ordinance, and I thought the ordinance was modified so that it can be enforced now by our law enforcement, because the problems with the old ordinance was the monitoring devices and the certifications. So we amended it to remove all that stuff, and now it's written in a way that it can be enforced. based
believe
on
it.
annoyance.
And it was on the agenda because we're getting people complaining about noise. So
Okay.
that's why it was brought before council.
I see, but you still have a noise control officer and that's employees that's received noise enforcement training.
I think that was deleted as well.
Certified. Not in this one here, it isn't. This is dated, this is 18-2015. It was on the agenda for the 16th of December, 2015.
Yeah, it was broken the ordinance was broken 2 parts. I just can't, without having it in front of me, and I don't remember back then.
The big thing I remember is if you could hear the noise 50 feet away from the building, you could be cited. So there was no dB meters or any specific.
Okay, wait, I did see mention of that in there. But that's what kind of confused me when I see all these certification there, and I thought it still involved the police.
I thought we had taken that out.
Well, it's
You might have an
noise control officers, and, it goes on to say a whole lot about it, section 132-4, noise control officers, so you have a definition, and the definitions, then you got a section on noise control officers.
Mr. Pelletier, aside from the noise stuff, did you have another comment, and we could look into the ordinance? Because none of us have it in front of us, and
Okay, that'd be fine if you take a look at it. And I got also a question regarding the exceptions. In 132-12, parts D and E, it makes reference to public parks, playgrounds, or public buildings having some sort of event like under the permission or approval of municipal officials. I would assume that means like police chief, the mayor, or council. It doesn't exactly explain what municipal officials.
under what?
Under exceptions of the noise ordinance, like if you go out to a park, public playground, you're having festivities and stuff, is exempt from any kind of noise control upon permission. Then in Part E, you have bands or orchestras in halls, buildings, or out in the open air. They're authorized too when duly, they're okay to have when it's duly authorized. I don't know what duly authorized
I think that means permitted.
Yeah.
by.
You have to file an application with the clerk for a permit.
Right.
An audible permit?
Or even like a parade permit, or like we just did for the St. Anne's Carnival.
Okay, maybe a parade permit, because according to NDAP there, they said that the
Social affair
audible permits were no longer
with that
applicable. They
he's talking about
did not
already.
apply.
No, these are other kind of, well, like Jason
Other
just
type
said,
of
the social
permit. Okay.
affairs permit.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of examples there that would fall into that category, I believe.
Okay. Good. And I have a question too. In November, I was coming out of my driveway, and there was a couple of gentlemen there, surveyor and his spotter there. They were putting some orangey, pink, pavement markings, and so I said, hey, you got a communications cable going here? Because that's usually what you see for orange markings. And he said, no. He says, county sewer easement. He said, did you know about it? I said, well, I am aware that back in 2009-10, they're looking at running a sewer line up North Pemberton Road to the Greenberg Farm, but out in front of my house, they're doing it. So I went to an MUA meeting in January, and the board nor did the administrator know anything about it, and they suggested I contact the county, which I did, and the county didn't have anything either. I started with Gina Berg, and I worked my way down, and they said they didn't know what it was. So one person did say that sometimes developers actually do some of the legwork, and they do it for the town or the county. So I was wondering if you have an answer to that. Is that part of the people that are going to be developing the Greenberg Farm? I don't know. See, I thought it was the county officials, but county people, but county also outsources some of their surveying, the big jobs, and they keep, a core crew in-house. So then they also mentioned something about a developer. So no one knows anything.
I'm kind of wondering if that might be a better question for zoning or planning board. Not to put you off, I don't have an answer for you. I really don't.
Okay. And also, too, I have a copy of the zoning map. I had a couple of questions because it got passed. This NCP designation, 4 areas up in the North Pemberton and the other side of the borough area. And I'm assuming that's neighborhood commercial property or something like that. But there's nothing in the legend that actually describes what it is.
Pinelands.
Oh, that's Pineland? NCP, okay. Now, on the, thank you. there's an area, I thought the whole triangle was actually rezoned to neighborhood commercial, but I happened to see Mr. Reagan out in the hall the last time I was here in December. He said no, just that strip up there. And I noticed here that the American Legion is, and I was wondering, why wouldn't that have a commercial? Why would that have a commercial designation when it's a nonprofit? I guess you don't have any kind of a legend that would say, you know, this is zone nonprofit or an activity, something like that. So I was wondering why that's not in there. Anybody have a answer for that, or?
Well, the zoning is not zoned based on existing use. It's zoned on planned use. So if the Legion no longer existed, the zoning would permit a commercial property from operating on that site. You wouldn't have to come for a variance or change the use on that property in order to utilize that property for your needs.
Right.
So that's why the property's zoning is based on, you know, the potential use of a property, not the current use. Because you could have a residential home on that property, but it could be rezoned to commercial, but that's a pre-existing use, and then when that residential property is no longer used, well then the next property would have to be a commercial or get a variance to make it a residential.
I see. I thought, well, it would be something like a hospital. You got a hospital there that's there for years, and then, oh, well, that's a hospital zone now. So,
well, you could zone it as a hospital
yeah,
zone.
If it didn't have zoning in the past.
Yeah, you could.
Okay. All right. I think that's all that I have. I appreciate having the time to come up here and
Thank you, Mr.
say a few things. I haven't been here for a while, and I appreciate you moving it up to the beginning of the council meeting and not on the back end, because a lot of people don't have time to stay here, and myself included. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Skull?
Hello, good evening, everyone. I hadn't intended to say anything this evening, but Mrs. Walters' comments really got me to thinking. And I know I've sat up there before, and it's extremely difficult. It's a hard job. It's very hard to do anything in leadership positions. Because you're always wrong. I don't care what decision you make, there's going to be somebody that tells you you should have made a different decision. However, I think the comment Ms. Walters made about doing the right thing is very important. And sometimes it is very easy to sit back and not say anything when you know and see that things are not what they should be. Is that the right thing to do? For some people, I guess it is. Not everybody has the fortitude and the ability to be able to disagree with somebody and still respect them. I mean, that's become extremely obvious in this township over the past 6 years. And that is a shame, because we're on the front page of the newspaper way too often. And when Terry's talking about houses that are empty, who's going to want to move here? And when I try to explain to people, we have the lowest tax rate, we have beautiful properties you can get at a reasonable price, they don't want the negativity. And that's a shame. And when you are elected, you know, you're there to do what's best for the township and the people. Not for an individual, not for a party, for the people in the township. And it is hard to do the right thing. And quite often, it's a lot easier not to say anything, because then you're looked upon as if you just want to fight and argue. And I can tell you, I know I don't want to argue and fight with anybody, but I will when it's for my town. And when there are people being abused that shouldn't be abused. Somebody has to stand up, and somebody has to say, this is wrong, this has to stop. So I give great kudos to Miss Walters for coming forward and making those statements. But I do know it's very difficult to sit where you're sitting and do the right thing. But I certainly hope that that's what your intentions are, doing the right thing for the town. My other comment is in reference to these folks coming out to reassess. People do not understand it. I have tried to explain on Facebook that if we're collecting $2 million in taxes, we're still going to collect $2 million in taxes. It's just going to be changing around a little bit. Some people will go down, some people will go up, some people will stay the same. Out there in their perception is that the township's just going to get all this extra money. And what are we going to spend all that extra money on? Well, so I don't know how the council can help. Maybe have a meeting, maybe have a town hall meeting and explain it to them. Because they really don't get it. And I know I've tried, and I just chuckle to myself because, they're not listening. But I do have one friend that did let them in her house the last time they did this, and she lives in a 1.5 bath house on a slab. The guy came in, measured the rooms, looked around at everything, and when it came back, they gave her 2 bathrooms and a full basement. And this was somebody that was in the house. So I understand the fear of individuals not wanting to let folks in their door, especially when you're single or home alone. But anyhow, thank you. Good luck, council. I know you're going to be working on the budget shortly. And no, we're not working on the budget. There aren't any budget hearings coming up?
Oh, there is a hearing.
Yeah, this Saturday.
Oh,
Saturday.
well, I would hope you're working on it.
Yes.
Maybe we can take some money out of legal expenses and put it somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry.
Seeing no other hands. Other resolutions? Resolution number 70-2016. A resolution of Pemberton Township Council in appreciation of the dedicated public service by J. Seville. Whereas J. Seville has served with distinction in the Pemberton Police Department for over 22 years. And whereas J. Seville, during his tenure with Pemberton Township, has given of his time and knowledge and service to the residents of the Township of Pemberton. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Pemberton, assembled in public session on this 16th day of March 2016, that the Township Council does hereby commend J. Seville for his contributions and dedicated service to the Township of Pemberton. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be presented to J. Seville on behalf of the Town Council. Mr. Seville is not here this evening.
He was invited, he was unable to attend.
But we would like to thank him for his leadership, service, and dedication to the Township. Council, is there a motion to approve resolution number 70-2016?
So moved.
Second.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mr. Cartier?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the Township Council and will be enacted by one motion. Should a council member wish to discuss a consent agenda item separately, that item can be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the regular agenda. Council, are there any agenda resolutions that we'd like to pull?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to pull Resolution 73. And from the bill list, page 8, all the bills related to the fire department.
Is that it, Ken?
That's it, yes.
Are there any others?
I would like to pull off the reports and communications, police officer stats, number 9, sub A, and new businesses purchases over $2,000, one each EV.
Can you repeat the last one?
Number 12, new business, sub number A, sub 1, however you want to call that, the TV.
Hearing no others, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mr. Carrier?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Jack, you had a question about one of the reports.
Yeah, I'm looking at the police officer status report, and I'm looking at the very first page, and it has a summons, CDR, and cases, and all that good stuff. But then over in the far right-hand column, it has others. It has actual hours worked, and then it has others. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different officers that put in 160 hours of other. I'm just kind of curious what that could be.
Well, other on the legend on the back page is listed as workman's comp or unpaid leave.
So we have 6 people out on workman comp?
Well, 2 of them, I'm just looking at the 2 names, 2 of them have either left the department or retired.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's probably they're collecting accrued leave.
During this time period that this was reported, they were still on, that's why they would be on there, but they're no longer here, and there's one on military leave.
And then there would be 4 others that were on leave, I guess, for the whole report.
Yes.
So we're down to 43 officers now, is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
It could be correct.
And with 4 of them out, we're down to 39.
No, I don't believe we're that low. With the ones that are out, we might be down to 43. I don't know, I'll check the numbers, I don't have it off the top of my head.
But we are authorized 57, correct?
We're authorized 57, yes.
To be frankly, it scares me to see our manning so low. I'm really concerned. I feel that this is going to have just so many negative impacts. As a township, have we reached out to some of the other agencies that might be able to help us out during a shortage of manning, like the county sheriff or the state police?
I know of no crisis that the township is in law enforcement and our manning and crime waves. As a matter of fact, I read the report and I must see it a little differently because I don't see the activity in the report that you're saying that we need all this extra, assistance from other towns. What we have is enough officers to handle the calls that are coming in, and you can see the calls for yourself. A lot of spots are zeros, so there's some questions there as to what is happening with that time. So I think we're adequately staffed at this time. We are trying to increase that staff, as you well know. And as you well know, it's not an easy process because of the civil service requirements.
That's right. And I remember at the beginning of the year, we were roughly 48 officers, I believe, and I wanted to increase the manning, get it up to where closer to our authorized level. And it seems like we've taken a drastic dip since then. And it seems like every time we have a council meeting, we have a resolution honoring or recognizing the service of one of our police officers when they're retiring. We have one here that's leaving at 22 years.
How could we prevent somebody from retiring?
Or anticipate.
I mean, how many years was it? You said 22 years?
22, and I believe correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor, for them to get the full retirement, including their medical benefit, they have to do 25.
That's not accurate.
That's not accurate?
No. This officer fought back military time. He did his 20, he's got his 25 in the pension system. He will get his medical, and he will get his 25-year service credit through pensions. And I can assure you that administration is doing absolutely nothing to hamper the hiring of officers. We support the hiring of officers. The chief of police supports the hiring of officers, and it is by no way of fault of either part that we can't hire officers. You get out of civil service, we might have an easier time to hire officers, but that has been our biggest problem in our hiring process.
This is even something the chief said himself.
And the chief sat right here and told you it's a difficult process because of the requirements to meet through civil service.
How long have we been civil service?
Mr. President,
Years.
Ken?
is it part of the problem, the limitations in the pool that we have to select from, which we're looking to correct this evening?
Part of the problem, one of the issues within that civil service process is we're a residency town. You have here tonight an ordinance that will change that to non-residents. What that will do will give the department an option to hire individuals that do not live in the town. Why does that become beneficial? When we get our list is sent to us with residents as priorities. And we may have somebody on that list that is number 50, 70, 200, but we seem to be we're at the point now on the list after we've hired some of those individuals that we're in the 1,000, 2,000. Now these are individuals that took the test, and you're getting people that scored, 3,000. This will open it up to the county, and then at least you'll be getting people, you'll have a larger number of individuals with lower rating numbers on the list, so they'll be higher on the list to have a better pool to choose from. And you may say, well, why are we not going to hire residents? Well, you have to consider the fact that probably 93% or more of our officers do not live in town and don't live here because they choose not to. So what's the sense of having a residency list if you hire a resident and he moves out of town right away? So why not seek the best applicant?
I've sit here and listened to this, and I agree with you. I agree with it.
The chief is an advocate of this also, and that's
And,
why we're
and when we pass the resolution tonight opening up the citizen requirements, we're still not going to be able to utilize that on this list. We're going to have to wait for the next list that's probably going to come out in September.
The ordinance, not resolution that you'll be passing, if passed, yes, it will not take effect on the current list that we're working off of, and we're trying to get cleared so we can get a new list, because that's another problem. We may be at the bottom of the list, but we have to show cause to civil service as to why we're not hiring the remaining individuals on the list. And the chief has been back and forth with civil service in trying to explain to them why these individuals just don't seem to be the right fit for Pemberton Township, and he'd like to see new applicants to choose from. Again, that's not a fault on the department or administration as to not hiring new officers. We want to hire officers. We budget officers. We got new officers in the budget for hiring. But if we don't have the ability to offer these jobs because of the civil service process, there's nothing we can do about it.
How long have we been civil service?
I'd say probably back in the early 70s or 60s, maybe, I would
So
say
we've been
somewhere
civil
there.
service 50 or 60 years?
I would say so.
And this is the first time we've come, I think we're in a Manning crisis, to be honest. That's my opinion.
Well, that's your opinion. I disagree, but I also I know it's a very difficult process to get out of civil service. It's not something you can just choose to do. And it may take an act of legislation, at the state level. I'm not sure.
Dave, you might not know this off the top of your head, but would you happen to know the number, the most amount of officers that we've ever had in a year?
I would say 57, and that's many years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, the maximum authorized amount. Now, keep in mind, that is a number generated by council, the authorized number of officers allowed by ordinance by council. That doesn't mean that the chief wouldn't take 80 officers if you were willing to give him 80 officers. He'd be glad to have them. And if we could afford to have 80 officers, I'd be glad to have 80 officers. We budget what we believe the budget can sustain and what the department needs at the time. Do we believe they need 57 officers? I don't know that we need 57 officers based on the information that I get from the police department. But if we had the money for 57 officers available in our budget, it doesn't mean I wouldn't hire 57 officers, but I don't believe our budget can sustain 57 officers, and you have the budgets, and we'll see what you can do with it.
Jack, do you have any other questions?
Not on that issue, no.
Is there a motion to approve report 9A?
Do we really need to approve reports? I mean,
Just to note, I was asked this question, and I did question other clerks in the county, and there was no clear answer. It's either a matter of what council chooses to do. There's no real need to have to approve the reports. You can either just have them on the agenda for your review and still question them, but they don't necessarily have to be approved, or you can vote on them, but it doesn't. There's no real legal necessity to vote on the reports, right?
That's my understanding, because it's not really taking any action, it's just a
No, you're
report.
just accepting them. You're
It's
pretty
just a
much
report
voting to accept them.
From
but-
administration or from someone else to the council about a topic. It's not asking the council to take any action, so
Right.
it's not as if you voted yes or no, any action would be taken. So, I mean, if the practice is to vote, you certainly, as Andy said, I guess you could, but I don't see any legal need to do so.
Yeah, the answers I got back were like 50-50. There was no...
And is this a requirement in our newly adopted bylaws?
To be listed, but I mean,
Be
these,
listed, but they don't necessarily
yeah,
have to be voted on.
these were provided through or by administration and the clerk and whoever else, just purely for information purposes.
So my legal advice is there's not a legal need to vote on it.
Okay, so, but should we go ahead, since we have been doing it, should we do it this way for this one? Or just-
It's up to the council what it would like to do. I mean, if you've been doing it, you certainly could. But again, it's not as if you're taking any action by doing it and by voting yes or no that it would change the report in any way. The report was the report. It was information given to council
Okay,
on this topic.
just for consistency, because we did do it for B and C, is there a motion to accept?
So are we gonna vote on them for every meeting, or you just wanna be consistent for this
For
particular
this meeting, for consistency, is there a motion to accept the report 9A?
I'll motion.
I second the motion to approve 9A.
Second. Amy, please pull the...
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Cartier?
yes to accept.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
What I can do in the future is just list it under new business, and they can either be discussed, questions, or whatever, but no vote has to be taken on it, but they'll still be listed on the agenda,
Sounds
if
good.
that's okay with council.
It's fine with me.
Yes.
I still think we need to verify what the bylaw says, where it goes, is placed on the bylaws. Because I think it specifically calls it
Where
out.
it's placed,
Yeah.
as far as I think that's just like a general, where it's placed on the agenda in the bylaws is the council president can
Yeah.
move stuff around. It's not,
I just don't want to do anything we shouldn't be doing.
no, that's just a general roadmap. You can always make a turn here or there as needed. I don't think there's no legal reason why you can't say, okay, now we're going to move it to here.